All right, good evening to everyone joining us. As you're filing in, welcome to the Colleges That Change Lives virtual days and this presentation on Knox College. And thank you for joining us this evening. Before we get started, a few housekeeping announcements. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you, so further adding importance to the Q&A button. This is just one of many different sessions that's happening. Including tomorrow, additional profiles on Colleges That Change Lives institutions. And this presentation is being recorded. It'll be available within a week at the same website where you initially registered for the program. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters. Enjoy.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on this session on Knox College. This is a short, about 20-minute presentation, and then we're going to open it up for plenty of time for questions and answers. We're going to quickly introduce ourselves. My name is Rosie Worthen. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission here at Knox College, as well as a Knox alum of 2011. Pass it over for Mary. You introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Mary DePreet. I am also an alum of Knox. I graduated in 2015 and then stayed on for an extra year as a postbaccalaureate fellow. So I spent 5 years as a student here. And now I work as an admission counselor. That is my email if ever you need me.
And Rudy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rudy. I'm a second year at Knox. I'm a poli-sci econ major. And yeah.
And you, Becky?
Yeah, my name is Becky. I use she, him pronouns. I'm also a second year at Knox and I study psychology.
Wonderful, thank you. And this slide is showcasing actually a picture of campus. You can see our old main building and our lovely Alumni Hall building as well, overlooking the view of Galesburg, the town that we currently reside in.
To say more about Galesburg, so some ways to think about our exact location here in Western Illinois. The city of Galesburg is home to about 33,000 people. A good way to think about that is that it's small enough that you're going to get to know a lot of people very well, but big enough that you're never going to get claustrophobic. And it's a place for food. Always important, I think, to be in a place where after a long day or a term paper, you can go and celebrate by having some beautiful, festive meal with people that you love. So we have Korean food here, a really beautiful Mexican grocery and market. We have an incredible pizzeria. You can get really, really beautiful stuff here. A place that's connected to other places. A good way to imagine Galesburg, if you're not familiar with the map of kind of Western Illinois, is that if this was Chicago and this was Kansas City and this was Peoria and this was the Quad Cities, we would be right there. So we are 3 hours away from Chicago and St. Louis, and then we're about an hour away from the Quad Cities and Peoria. So lots of potential for road trips, which means number 4, an opportunity. We are so connected to, these kind of micropolitan and metropolitan areas, lots of networking opportunities there. And also here in Galesburg, we are very much a holistic unit with Galesburg. And so there's always opportunities locally.
So our current community, Knox College, is about 1,200 students, entirely undergraduate. There are no graduate students here. Professors teach all of our courses. We're also an NCAA Division III school. We have 18 varsity teams, and a third of our students participate in varsity sports. We can boast a couple NCAA appearances, as well as over 100 Midwest All-American Athletic Academic Awards as well. And you have to try really hard to be bored here at Knox College. We have over 100 student organizations that are entirely student run, and they have varying levels of impact. And our current student body, those 1,200 students represent 45 states and 49 countries. About a third of our students identify as students of color, and almost 20% of our students are international students.
So going off of that last number a little bit more, or those last 2 numbers, Knox really is like an open-minded, diverse place. I also like to stress that it's inclusive as well. This is a place where there are people from all around the world. You may be sitting in a class and to your left might be somebody from Morocco, and to your right there might be somebody from like a tiny coastal town in Maine that you've never heard of. And it creates this really beautiful confluence of voices, and all of those voices are really valued. This goes back to our roots, very deep here. We were founded in 1837 by abolitionists, co-founded with Galesburg, so it's at the root of the town too. We were a stop on the Underground Railroad. So from our beginnings, we've been anti-slavery, and we continue to be anti-racist, and to kind of explore how that commitment continues today. We're also one of the first institutions to educate women and people of color, as well as people who weren't necessarily wealthy. So there's economic diversity here as well. And yeah, ultimately a place where whoever you are and whatever your voice is, you're going to be heard, and there's going to be a space for you to have that voice heard. And so a little bit more about that, how it feels to be here. In the background, you see the library, a beautiful place. I've been in that room many a time. It feels busy, but never, kind of unproductively so. You always feel like you're busy doing something of substance. It feels productive towards that, really, really generative. As soon as you finish one project, there's another beautiful thing waiting you. Collaborative, but never competitive. This is a place where people are so busy kind of working together that there's really not a lot of time to be competing with one another. Philosophical, but never pretentious. I feel like Knox is a place full of people who are intellectual, but you would never hear somebody say like, well, I'm an intellectual. So there's I think a distinct difference there. Friendly in a way that I think was kind of interesting to me as a person who's not from the Midwest. Friendly in a way that's really genuine. People who you don't know will wave at you, and it's really quite lovely. Smart and unapologetically so. And lastly, human. All of this to say, the people who you meet at Knox are never one and the same. You know, everybody is so unique. They come from such a unique background. They have such amazing, unique, weird thoughts. And so this really is a place where, every other day you're meeting somebody who's doing something amazing, which is really, really incredible to be a part of.
So we have a couple traditions that we have here at Knox that make us a little bit distinct, and things that we love to celebrate here year round. As you can see on your screen, we've got quite a few, and just to note a couple of them, Prairie Burn is one of my favorite traditions, and that is where we have a 700-acre biological field station about 20 miles from campus, and every spring they set a section of the prairie on fire to restart the ecosystem and to be a part of that process, taking care of our community, of our environment and our surroundings. And we are the Knox College Prairie Fire as well, so it's very meaningful here for us in our community. And lastly, another one that I will share is iFair. It's a week long of events in the last week of January every year, and it's to celebrate our diversity and inclusivity, and all the things that our international students in various cultures bring to our community. So most notably, there are usually workshops, there are film screenings, and of course, the last series of events are followed with a cultural booth fair, a flag parade, a talent show, as well as a food festival to try all the amazing food. So we definitely love sharing that with the entire Knox and Galesburg community as well.
So a large list coming at you of majors and minors here at Knox. You'll see pluses next to some of them. That means that you can choose to have that degree be a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Sciences, which I think really reflects the freedom that you have over your education at Knox. And one of the things I like to say about this list is that it's really common. It's more, the norm than the exception to meet somebody who's like a classics major and an Africana Studies minor, or an Africana Studies major and an art studio studies minor, or like a journalism major and a minor in theater. Like, people are always in these departments. There's all sorts of conversations happening between the departments. There's, no siloed department here. And I like to also say that each of them are really beautiful departments. I came here thinking I was going to study biology. I ended up studying English Lit, philosophy, film, and creative writing, and all of them were fantastic. So definitely a place where you kind of have that freedom, and you don't have to worry that whatever you end up loving isn't going to be an incredible department, because it absolutely is.
So a key key component of our curriculum here at Knox is experiential learning, for you to take what you've learned in the classroom and apply it to real world experiences. And all students do some form of experiential learning at Knox. You can see a few options that our students take advantage of here. And not only is this a great opportunity for you to beef up that resume, cover letter, graduate school application, but it's also an opportunity for you to affirm to yourself that yes, this is something that you can see yourself doing, or maybe not so much, which is maybe as important, if not more important, to discover what you're truly passionate about and what you truly enjoy. We also know that there are some things you can't learn in a classroom setting, but those experiences and lessons are invaluable nonetheless. And it is very challenge by choice here. If you already have ideas, questions that you would like to try and answer, you can start doing independent study and research creative work as early as your first year at Knox. 89% of our students complete some form of research and creative work. There are opportunities for internships and community service here in Galesburg, as well as all over the world, that our students take advantage of. And our students contribute more than 80,000 hours a year in volunteer hours to our various communities. A little bit over half of our students choose to study abroad or pursue off-campus programs, both in the United States and outside of the United States, and financially travels with you. There are language cultural immersion programs, as well as academic specific programs that you can choose from. Immersion terms are truly unique and distinctive to Knox, and they are opportunities to dive headfirst into a field of study for an entire 10 weeks. As an example, startup term is where students form into groups of 4 or 5, and you come up with an idea, whether it's a business, a product, an app, a computer program, and for 10 weeks, you work in a downtown Galesburg office as if you're in a startup company, bringing that to fruition. And then you have to pitch that idea to a panel of investors, exactly like the show Shark Tank. In addition to that, another opportunity is repertory theater term, where for 10 weeks, 40 students are a part of every single aspect of putting on 2 main stage shows. It's not just about crafting your voice as that artist, but also how to navigate that world, that if you want to work in a repertory theater company, you know what it takes and you're able to get it done. And all of these opportunities, not only do we support students academically in these endeavors, we support you financially as well. Every single student receives the Power of Experience grant, where you automatically have $2,000 in your name to use for experiential learning. So that is Knox paying for your living expenses for an internship in London, Knox paying for your materials for a research or creative project. We do not want financial means to be a barrier for students having access to these real world experiences.
So some things that might happen after you graduate, featuring the back of our president's head. Hi, Teresa's head. So we have 100% medical school acceptance rate at Knox, 100% acceptance to law school as well. So if you come here and you're like, maybe law school, maybe I'm gonna be a surgeon, cool. Either way, you are set. We are also in the top 4% for liberal arts schools, producing successful PhD candidates. So if you're gonna maybe pursue a PhD in film studies or in chemistry, you're also set towards that. And then to kind of say a bit about the Knox community, both on campus and off, this is a place that when you leave, it's not as if you're like, well, that was good, goodbye, Knox. Some people stay really connected to this place. And it's because of what Knox prepares them to do. So 97% of our alumni say they felt prepared for life after college, and 83% say that they're pursuing meaningful work 10 years after Knox. Over 2,000 actually of our alumni donors gave back to us on Knox Proud Day. So when you come here, you're really entering into a community that will extend, like it'll be really intense those 4 years together, of course, but those connections will never go away, and you'll continue to have those forever, which is really beautiful, I can say from experience.
What makes you the person that you are? What defines you growing up as a person, and how did you get here to this moment?
I've loved the community. You always greet with smiles. Everybody's super unique here.
I got to Knox and I realized that people weren't really judging me for my ideas and my opinions. I became more at ease with being in my own skin and being able to express myself and articulate my ideas.
All the people I've met with my friends and my teachers who just come with different backgrounds and different experiences and perspectives have changed the way I look at the world.
I love the freedom.
Breaking out and trying something new and challenging.
I started going out of my way to do things that I didn't think I could typically do. I became an RA, I became a writing tutor, I'm a Red Room captain.
I joined clubs that I never thought I was gonna be in.
I've changed a lot. I have changed a whole lot.
I love all the opportunities available to me. I'm a chemistry major, mathematics minor, member of Chem Club. I also play in 2 ensembles.
I wanted to explore. I wanted to see what my passion was. And then I took an international relations class. It changed my life.
I went in to a foreign country not knowing anybody who's in the program, not knowing the language, having a fantastic time just throwing myself in there, meeting all these new people and learning all these amazing things.
I love doing new reactions. I love creating new chemicals, new compounds.
One of the greatest things about Knox is that it's afforded me these opportunities to study abroad, to do these internships and get paid for them, to do an honors project. That's really kind of shaped who I am now.
Oh, there's inherent greatness in everyone.
Just gotta keep looking up.
So got to see a quick video showcasing some scenes from campus as well as Galesburg. I highly encourage you to check out some of our other videos on our website. And just to quickly summarize what we've been sharing with you this evening, ways to think about a value of a Knox education, and that it's an education that's incredibly adaptable. There are no formal cookie cutter shaped pathways here at Knox. You can have 2 biology majors with entirely different paths, and that's how it should be. You're held accountable for your education here. We also know that as you learn, grow, and have experiences, that you might change your mind over time, and that is okay. Your educational plan should be flexible because your path may change, and you should still be able to make those changes and make those decisions and still graduate within 4 years. To be able to leave Knox with tangible proof that you're able to work successfully in your career field is invaluable. It's not just to say, look, I have this proof that I rock at this and what I do, so it's a no-brainer that you should invest in me and hire me to your organization or to admit me to your institution for a graduate school program. That affirmation and that confidence carries through, and it sets you apart from the competition. And it's an education with power. Our alumni go on to do amazing things all over the world, not only making an impact on their own lives, but on the lives of others. And it's not just about churning you out for a career here. It's about giving you the tools, skills, confidence to be able to go off into this ever-changing world and solve problems that don't exist yet and start careers that don't exist yet, as well as lead a happy, meaningful life. That is something that is truly important that isn't necessarily focused on as much as it should, that you should have the confidence to go off and change careers or start a new adventure and not be scared for what's to come. It's a very empowering education at that. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. Definitely use that Q&A box that was mentioned earlier to share with us our questions. And we're going to be asking Rudy and Becky those questions as well.
All right, so I have a question for Rudy and or Becky. Can we talk a little bit about the Career Center, specifically internships and maybe your experiences with their helpfulness towards internships and kind of preparing you for outcomes after Knox?
So I used the Career Center a lot in my freshman year because Scott, who runs the Career Center, he's an amazing guy, and he's always available for help. So you can just email him like, hey, can I meet you at like 1:30? I have like between 2 classes just to look over my resume. And he was like, yeah, sure, just drop by my office. And he will look over your resume how many ever times you need him to. Like there's no limit. Like I've had him look over the same resume like 6 times. Once I changed like one word and I'm like, here, is this okay? Did I mess it all up? And he's like, no, it's fine. And aside from just his direct guidance, you know, we have career peer leaders. So you can just ask like someone who's also a student who's been trained by the Career Center to look at a resume, look at a cover letter. And even above that, Knox recently just got Handshake, which is you know, a career site, and lots of opportunities are posted there every day. I can't keep up with the amount of job postings that are posted, like, you know, every week. And on top of that, last year Scott, you know, went out of his way to gain access to JobScan, which is like this AI powered like resume, cover letter, like scanner that scans like your resumes and your cover letters for keywords that jobs look for. So that allows you to fine tune your application even more. And honestly, I've had so much help. Like I went from not knowing what a cover letter was to submitting like a really chunky cover letter for an internship in New York. But yeah.
That was beautiful. Yeah, and to kind of expand on the question that was asked a little bit, one of the pieces of the question was kind of to speak to grad and professional school acceptance rates. I will say that there is that piece of Knox being 100% law school, 100% medical school, top 4% for liberal arts and PhD programs. It does kind of, if you want a list of like recent grad programs that students from the department that you're interested in have been accepted to, you should email your admission counselor here, which is determined by your territory. And you should ask them for a copy of our catalog, or just search on Knox's website for the catalog. And what's great about the catalog is that with the department, it'll give you this little kind of bar that lets you know some of the recent places where students from that department are in graduate programs, which is really, really cool to see. And then one of the sub questions was, what parts of the country do students take jobs? I will say students take jobs everywhere here. Like if we were, I think, to pinpoint a kind of map of where Knox students are working now, it would look a lot like the maps of where they come from, which is to say all across the nation and globally. Students often take jobs abroad. So definitely this is a place where you're not going to be limited. It's not the case that if you go here, you're going to have to stay here to get a job. I actually, between graduating and coming back to work here, went back to Portland and worked around Portland for years and years. And it was great. So definitely don't feel like if you're coming here, it means that you have to take a job like in Chicago. That's not the case at all. So another question, this will be great for you guys. Campus life, student housing, dining, what do you guys do for fun?
I guess I can start a little bit with like just general things about campus life. Honestly, as a first year, I didn't get super involved, and I regretted that like come spring term, but then being online, I didn't have much I could do about it. So being in person this term, I'm really jumping on it. And so, I mean, just a little bit like I'm on the Frisbee team. I've got all of my psych classes that I'm taking care of. I've got the job and admissions. Today I did my first time volunteering at the farm at Knox, and it was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of people that I wouldn't have met before. But I mean, really just like through getting involved in things like that, I've realized that there are so many close-knit communities of people, but it's not cliques. So you can show up anywhere and have a great time with the people that are there. And then also like with student housing, one thing I really liked as a first year was that all of the first year housing is suite style. And so you immediately have like at least 10 people that are your closest friends. And if they don't stay your friends, they are definitely at least your friends for the first few weeks, which helps you get acclimated to the college lifestyle. And that was like a really big thing for me my first year.
And Rudy, do you mind sharing your involvements and what campus life is like for you, and what do you do for fun, and even how maybe it was before, and if there are any changes recently now that we're in the third week of term?
Yeah, so actually I'm also on Frisbee with Becky, and my campus life is really I'm part of like TKS, the Knox Student newspaper. I did join an admission system. I'm part of Greek life. I am probably forgetting something, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. But it's also just a lot of, you just know people, you meet so many different people, and you just go hang around with, different groups, completely different groups, different interests. And that kind of ties into Becky's point about residential life. So, when I was a first year and I was assigned to a suite, this is a random assignment. And for like the first few weeks of college, like everyone in the suite were really tight. Like we just hit it off. And these are just a random group of people. And I just think it's exceptional that like 10 plus people just hit it off. And we used to like talk every night and, be way too loud. for weeks, and we still like all like pretty close, even though we all live in different suites now. So yeah, I mean, I completely second what Becky said. Like, it's not just chance that she happened to have a good suite, because I had the exact same experience in a completely different house.
Excellent, thank you. And I think another aspect of that question too, they're asking about dining. What's the food like on campus? What do you think? And you can be honest, how's that going?
Dining this term is more difficult, just being having to be distant and things like that. They are still trying to make it run smoother. So it's a work in progress, but I mean, it's a new system. But I know that in the past, I loved the dining. It was one of the reasons I came to Knox. You have two options basically, and one of them gets you into the restaurant, and one of them gets you into this all-you-can-eat buffet. And it was always good because even if I didn't like the main choice for the night, there was like a salad bar, and then there was a fruit bar, and then there was all-you-can-eat ice cream. So there was always something I could find to eat. And then the restaurant I was talking about, the Gizmo, is where a lot of my friends and I will just spend hours studying or eating way too many mozzarella sticks, things like that. So it's, you never go hungry on campus, really.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just going to say that the Gizmo has very good French fries, which I find to be an important part of life, and they're really quite good. So if nothing else sounds good in a day, you can always get some fries, which is pretty great. And I think it's also worth noting here that like there will be days when you are tired of campus food anywhere you go. And what's great about Knox is that you can then walk 2 blocks to Baked to get a pizza with your friends, or you can walk 2 blocks to El Jarachiro to get like a tamale, which I found to be really helpful. Like if there's nothing that sounds good, you're not like totally stranded. Like you can kind of, you know, be a little feisty and go rogue. And I think that that's something that I really, really valued as a student here.
Excellent. And another question we've received is specifically towards political science and even international relations in terms of experiential learning opportunities. I know they asked about immersion terms, but also maybe internships and abroad opportunities. You all have any stories to share or experiences?
So I'm a poli-sci major and my roommate is an IR major. So I feel like I'm well equipped to deal with this. So poli-sci, I think that if you're looking at domestic politics, the biggest program that we have is the Washington semester, where you go and spend a semester with American University at DC. And the biggest draw of that program is that you will be placed in an internship somewhere in DC, in something you're interested in. And that's they have 100% internship placement rate. So you're gonna get something. Like you may be in Congress, you may be the Department of Justice, maybe with a lobbying firm, like depending on what you want, you will be placed in an internship when you go there. That's something I'm planning on doing, you know, before I graduate. And if you're looking at poli-sci internationally, we have programs with in the United Kingdom, Ireland, England. My advisor and also the advisor for the Washington program, he studied in he had an internship with a member of parliament in England, so that is also definitely an option if you want to kind of gain an international perspective on politics.
Excellent, thank you. And I'll chime in as well because one of my majors was international studies at Knox. And I think all across the board in terms of challenge by choice is that if you find an opportunity or like an immersion program, those ideas are met with enthusiasm. So as an example, I got to design my own research my first year and look at the effects of Canadian nickel mining companies in rural Guatemala, and Knox paid for me to go abroad on this human rights delegation to witness that and then bring all that information back to Knox College. So it can really vary in terms of the opportunities. I think another opportunity specifically immersion term related is our Japan term, where students will take 3 courses on campus, preparing them for a 2-week immersive trip to Japan to really apply what they've learned and really get an experience for the culture and things happening about. I know one of the past times there were actually protests occurring in Japan talking about living, working wages, and the professors actually had the students participate and talk to each sides of the protest to really get a feel for what was going on currently in the country and in the community, and to be able to really use their language skills and interact with others in the community as well.
What about resources for student athletes? Do either of you do athletics? I should know. I don't really recall. So I can maybe speak to this for a second. I was not an athlete either, but I've talked a lot to the athletes around campus, some of whom work for us. And I'm thinking primarily of Gabby here. So your coaches here know you really well, in the same way that the faculty know you. And they'll know like what courses you're taking. And so the way that it's been, told me by athletes who go here is that their coaches know when they're doing like really intense work. They'll be like, you should not come and lift this morning because we know that you were like at a writing workshop until midnight last night. So like stay home and lift another time. So there's like some flexibility there from the coaches. And they know that you're here because you want to play, and that's a huge part of your identity, but also that like, I don't know, but maybe like you're a really incredible physicist and they know that's also why you're here. And so there is that balance that they really support. Rosie, I wonder if you want to speak to that as well. But yeah, I feel like this really is a place where like there's no segregation too between athletes and like non-athletes. Like I feel like that can happen at larger schools a little bit, but I feel like at Knox that's never the case, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to chime in. Other resources for student athletes. I know there are a couple student-run organizations. There's the Good Athlete Project, as well as a student athlete like advisory council as well. So they'll do various projects within the community. Teams will also support each other. So I think they kind of have a buddy system. So like the volleyball team will go support the soccer team and vice versa, making sure that everyone is able to really support one another in each other's sports, as well as being able to travel together. They do a lot of study sessions. First and foremost, you are a student. So student athlete, it's very much a part of your life that academics are a high priority. So having that flexibility of working around academic schedules. I also know that if student athletes, if they want to do an internship abroad or study abroad, being able to work around their season to make sure that they can have the best of both worlds. They can have those experiences and still be a part of a team. That's an excellent question. And I think another one too, following up talking more about campus life and just campus living. I know both of you mentioned, the suite style dorms. Do you mind chatting about the variety of living options here on campus that we have to offer?
Yeah, so Knox is a residential college, so you are expected to live on campus all 4 years. You can apply to live off campus your senior year, and then because of COVID, they allowed more people to apply off campus this year. But there are like a lot of different options for you to be able to live on campus and not get bored. Typically, first years live in suite style housing, and really the only choice you have in that is if you want to live in a living learning community, which pertains to your classes. But then after that, you kind of get more choice. So as a second year student, I'm living still in another suite style dorm, but instead of having 11 people in my suite, it's only 6 of us. And then we also have townhouses that I have a few friends who lived in last year. Those are really cool. And then we have things like Hamblin and Thompson, so you get more like apartment type things. And then in the apartments, you do get your own kitchen and things like that. And then while it's not the best, you do have some of the buildings, the suite style buildings for first and second year students do have kitchens in the basement along with the laundry rooms and things like that. So you will have access to a kitchen so you can cook with your friends and things like that.
We also have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry, Rosie. So weird to have etiquette on Zoom. Yeah, I will say that I lived in Post Hall my freshman year, and I used the kitchen all the time. I made steaks in the kitchen once. It's really fun because you can like get people together and cook together down there. And like while Becky's definitely right, that it's certainly not like an amazing setup with like a beautiful appliances. Like there's a stove that works, and it's functional. It's very, very functional. And I think very atmospheric. So yeah, it's definitely accessible. You can definitely cook for yourself. Also, we have group houses here. So we have a few houses that are designated. A lot of them are cultural houses. I think there's Casa Latina, there's an Asian Studies house. So those are really neat. And then there's always a few that are kind of kept for theme houses. So there's like Eco House. I mean, you can always propose new theme houses. So that's another option. And the group houses are really cool. I really love them. I think they're really, really neat. Rosie, what were you gonna say?
No, I was going to mention the cultural houses. There's a great variety, and almost all of our students live on campus all 4 years, and we are very much a community. I know I had usually a handful of folks choose or apply to live off campus. As Becky mentioned, we are a residential campus. You don't really want to miss out on that. We love Knox, we love being here, and students really love being a part of that community. And I think with a variety of housing options, students definitely want to stick around. You also definitely want to continue riding that train of people helping with fixing up appliances and items, shoveling the sidewalk, because it does snow here in Illinois quite a bit at times. And so being able to continue to have that support system as well. So that's what I was going to add. And I know also got a question that's probably more admission related in terms of if you are graduating early from high school and plan to take a few community college courses before enrolling in a 4-year institution. With Knox, you won't necessarily be seen as a transfer student per se. If you're taking a few extra courses, you can go ahead and apply for admission now this fall. And just note that you will be graduating early, and let us know of your plans. Typically, those credits will transfer. Usually 3 credit hours equals 0.9 credits, more or less, at Knox, because we do not do credit hours here. We do each class is worth 1 credit, but you can get credits for those classes that you've taken, especially if they're more of the core courses that you've taken at those community colleges. Essentially, if there's a similar class being taught at Knox, those courses will transfer. That's a fantastic question.
Take another one that's maybe a little bit more on me and Rosie's wheelhouse side. Yeah, so the financial health at Knox. We have not cut any departments, and we have no intent to cut any of our departments. We're quite attached to all of them. We're quite attached to all of our programs and our sports. We actually just recently hired a faculty member. We're looking to hire a faculty member for our Peace and Justice Studies minor. So really, we're continuing to fortify our departments instead of cutting them. Knox has a really healthy endowment, which really helps us. And it's also, it's a community, and we've really been able to band together. Alumni have really come out of the woodwork to help us in this time. And I think because we are small, it helps us in this kind of, paradoxical way, while we don't have as many people pouring money into the institution who are students, we also keep our overhead pretty low. And so I think that that's also true for Knox, that we're in this really sweet spot where we have enough students that there's a really healthy kind of turnaround. But we're not so big that we have these huge costs to be dealt with that are dependent on students living on campus, which maybe they can't always do right now at a big university. So I think that's such a wise question. I think you should absolutely continue to ask that of the colleges that you're looking into. But yeah, right now, there are no plans to start cutting anything, any of our beloved things that we have to offer you. Rosie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think just in terms of financial health of the college, one really strong point is that currently, as of the last update we received, the endowment is the highest that it's ever been. We're very strong financially. We have a fantastic support system that not only supports the college and the infrastructure, but also the community, not just the students, but the faculty and staff as well. So we really are able to come together. And in terms of sports, the Midwest Conference, they had to postpone all events. However, that's not stopping our athletes from getting together and doing practicing with limited contact, being able to do workouts and still feel a part of a team and a part of the community. So we're not looking at cutting anything. We're continuing to grow and thrive and really just ensure the safety and health of our students, faculty, and staff. And I think with a few minutes remaining, in terms of some cheesy questions to throw at both you and Rudy and Becky, do you have any advice to share with high school seniors that are starting their college search to pass along? And then secondly, why did you choose to come to Knox? What made Knox so special to you to call it your second home?
Well, I guess and it's a very common answer, but what made me choose Knox first and foremost was the vibes on campus. I did my first tour of Knox going into my freshman year in high school, way too early, do not suggest it. But I still was met with really nice admissions counselors and admissions ambassadors and current students. And everyone was just, willing to hang out with me, even though I really had no purpose being on campus that early. And then visiting every single time after that, it's not like that people became nicer as I became more of a prospective student. Everything just kind of stayed the same and everyone was equally nice. I had a professor remember my first name just by my face before my first day of classes, even though I had only visited campus 4 times. So it's just like the close-knit community and how much everyone cares about each other truly was what brought me to campus. But something that I'd say to make sure you keep in mind when you're looking for colleges is the vibes, because you're going to be spending a lot of your time on campus. Even if you think, oh, I'll go to this coffee shop or I'll go do this, no, you're going to be on campus most of the time. And then also look at things that you're interested to get involved in. I know that I said I didn't do much my freshman year in terms of getting involved, but now I'm doing it and I'm realizing that the reasons that I had picked Knox, like the Frisbee team and being able to visit the farm, are things that are really keeping me happy here on campus. So.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing to look for in a college is accessibility, and I mean that in terms of resources, because lots of colleges have say mental health services available, but how accessible are those? I think that's something that you should find out, and don't be afraid to ask students or faculty or anyone about how accessible resources are, because having something available and then it being accessible are 2 separate things. And I'm glad I chose Knox because I find resources here very accessible. And the reason I did choose Knox, I realized the benefits of accessibility after I actually came here. The reason I chose Knox is because when I toured here, I was stayed overnight because I flew from California. And my overnight host, he was just the nicest guy. And like he introduced me to so many people. He took us to the Gizmo, the restaurant that Becky mentioned, and we just sat there for a few hours. And like so many people stopped by, they greeted him and they were like, "Oh, are these like your prospects?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're my prospects." Everyone was like so nice to me. I met so many people that day. And then he took me for like an unofficial tour of campus. And it was just loads of fun, and the people were so nice. The class I sat in on was really engaging. It wasn't like high school 2.0. I actually felt like I was in something different. So I was actually excited to start taking classes at Knox. I think that's what did it for me.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, and thank all of you for asking those questions in the Q&A and letting us share a little bit of Knox with you all. I highly encourage you all to check out our website. Not only do we have a virtual tour of our campus, so you can actually check out a few of those dorms that we had mentioned this evening, but we also have fall preview days where we will be showcasing various videos, even live information sessions with various programs and departments on our campus, live Q&As with more current Knox students for you to get a feel of our community, as well as being able to schedule virtual visits, meeting with your admission counselor, and we are also offering on-campus individual visits as well. So definitely check out our website, and we look forward to reviewing your application and receiving your application. And should any of you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact us here at Knox. Thank you all so much for joining us, and good luck with your search.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you to our presenters for your presentation this evening. When you close this window, there's going to be a link to a quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. Also, as a reminder, this is just one of many sessions being offered as part of the Colleges That Change Lives virtual days, so be sure to sign up for any additional ones. In about a week, you'll be able to find the recording of this session as well as others if you'd like to view those. Thanks again, and have a great evening.